Good morning and good afternoon and good evening wherever you are. My name is Uye Stewart, Chief Data and Technology Officer at data.org, and I am delighted to serve as the moderator of today's webinar. We are so glad that you all have taken the time to join us for what is going to be a really engaging conversation. Last year, data.org, in partnership with Microsoft, with support from EY, launched the Generative AI Skills Challenge, a call for best-in-class organizations who are training and upskilling teams on generative AI to drive social impact and advance socioeconomic mobility. In November of last year, we announced 5 challenge awardees, and we are delighted to host them on the webinar today. And they are Global Integrated Education Volunteers Association, with the acronym GIEVA, Mississippi AI Collaborative, the Tipping Point and 100 Mentors, Data Elevates, the Mahila Foundation. These organizations embarked on ambitious projects to train and upskill social sector workers in generative AI, focusing on driving socioeconomic mobility. Leading with localism, their initiatives emphasize community-led implementation to accelerate digital inclusion and skill development for workers in historically marginalized populations. Today, we will dive into their programs and learn about their AI platforms and tools, training materials and prompts, and the impact of thousands of new generative AI practitioners around the world that they have created. To kick off this conversation, I am truly delighted to invite Gregory Bianchi from Microsoft Philanthropies to the stage. Together, data.org and Microsoft launched the challenge to support organizations who are driving skilling and economic growth, especially those focusing on historically marginalized populations around the world. In addition to Microsoft's generous financial support for the challenge, awardees received access to technical resources, technical guidance from Microsoft AI's experts, such as Microsoft's AI for Good Lab and data training. Greg, it's truly a delight to turn this over to you for your opening remarks.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here. Just an honor to join everyone on the call today. I'm Greg Bianchi, and I'm Director of Partnerships with Microsoft Philanthropies Skills for Social Impact. And our team is really committed to partnerships that help create opportunities in the digital economy and particularly in the AI-enabled economy. And we seek to do that work to really democratize access and especially providing opportunities in historically excluded populations, and truly believe that everyone should benefit and participate in the digital economy. And so this project, just from the beginning was such a fantastic opportunity to align to our mission. At the core, our mission at Microsoft is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And I think we saw so much of that in the projects. We were truly inspired here at Microsoft as we watched the projects unfold and the learnings that took place, and really the opportunities that were created to build new platforms, new tools, new mechanisms for people to gain skills that relate to generative AI, to leverage generative AI for social opportunity, and really to do all of this while rooted in community-led solutions. And so I just want to say, thank you to data.org for facilitating this process, and a huge thank you and congratulations, to each of the organizations that did this amazing work. And I hope that they feel recognized and honored as part of this. And I would say that they're contributing in a very important way to global learning. And certainly at Microsoft, we're tracking the outcomes, and we're excited to capture those learnings and share those, for the benefit of so many. So I hope that the participants and awardees also recognize not only that their reach extending beyond their communities and their specific projects, but truly to the contributions that you have all made to the collective understanding of how generative AI can provide opportunity. And so in that respect, I'm so thrilled with the project to date, and I look forward to the continued learnings that will come from this process and from the organizations that have participated. So thanks to all of you, and that concludes my remarks.
Thank you so much, Greg. Now, I'm pleased to invite Ian Sawyer from Global Corporate Responsibility, Environmental Sustainability, and Next Generation Leader at EY to the stage. EY was a key partner in this challenge. They provided awardees with EY resources, free 90-minute skills lab, direct coaching for 5 awardees. And I'd like to bring you to the stage for your opening remarks.
Great. Thanks, Greg and Uwe. And thank you so much to data.org for inviting me to be here today with you all. Again, my name is Ann Sawyer, and I'm part of the Global Corporate Responsibility team at EY. And we were so pleased when Microsoft and Greg specifically introduced us to data.org. And we received this exciting opportunity to support the Generative AI Challenge and all the awardees that you will hear from today. The EY organization believes in the power of responsible artificial intelligence to support people and communities and help the planet thrive. So the work that you are doing just directly correlates with that. The responsible use of AI unlocks unprecedented opportunities for social impact and is key to achieving our EY Ripple's ambition of positively impacting over 1 billion lives by 2030. One of our key strategic priorities is equipping and helping to empower social innovators with the tools and knowledge to harness AI to rapidly scale given proven impact solutions. And that's where we turn to these 5 awardee organizations. As you will hear, they are incredible role models demonstrating how generative AI can be used for social change. Each of these organizations, selected from nearly 600 applicants across 93 countries, represents a locally driven solution with the potential to scale across communities and continents. EY was really privileged to support the 5 organizations in a few different ways. We have offered capacity building workshops, ongoing coaching, and access to our global network to ensure these organizations can sustain and really scale their work. Through the EY Ripples program, we have hosted a series of 90-minute virtual capacity building workshops called EY Skills Lab, with a focus on critical areas such as investment preparation, business model design, and scaling social organizations. These interactive sessions have been in high demand, and we're excited to continue offering them to further participating organizations this September. We are also providing coaching to these organizations with sessions that develop into sustaining impact beyond the grant period. And our EY coaches, and let me tell you, this was a very popular initiative. Our EY employees were really eager to provide support. They are supporting the organizations in a few different ways, including exploring different funding models, expanding their reach, and creating replicable assets to scale their work. Our coaches have been extremely impressed by the organization's level of engagement and also all the advanced preparation. We know this is just the beginning of the journey for these 5 organizations, and we look forward to staying connected to see how their journey goes. And we know that they will be inspiring others around the world to harness the power of generative AI for social impact. I will hand it back to Uwe now, but just can't thank you all enough for the opportunity for EY to participate in this.
Thank you so much, Anne. Now, I would like to invite our 5 Generative AI Skills Challenge awardees to the stage. Tanvi Davate from the Myna Mahila Foundation, Brittany Mybert from Jackson State University and Mississippi AI Collaborative Partner, Daniel Obaka from Global Integrated Education Volunteers Association, again with the acronym GIEVA, Rob Sagan from Data Elevates, and Yorgos Nikoletakis from 100 Mentors. This challenge called for organizations training and upskilling teams on generative AI to drive social impact and advance socioeconomic mobility. Now I have a few questions for Brittany, starting with Brittany, and then Rob, and then Yorgos. But first, Brittany. The Mississippi AI Collaborative takes an ecosystem approach to generative AI skilling. Can you please tell us about how your team is building a sustainable career pipeline, and what is the impact of this holistic approach?
Absolutely. It's so great to see everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I'm here in Jackson, Mississippi today, and welcome everyone who is watching and attending. In terms of this ecosystem approach, we really wanted to emphasize the importance of collaboration. And what we found is that across Mississippi for too long, really fantastic organizations have been doing great work in silos. And so it was really important to have organizations come together. In terms of the career pipeline, when we were thinking about what an AI career pipeline looks like, we realized over the course of the grant period that AI will be integrated into all careers. And so rather than building a career pipeline in AI, it was important to focus on a knowledge pipeline to upskill absolutely everyone in Mississippi in generative AI, to meet them where they were at, and therefore to show them how generative AI would be applied within their own career. And so we did that in a couple of different ways. We ran an educator accelerator program, which was a partnership with the Computer Science Teacher Association. And that was designed to upskill K through 12 and higher education educators across the state, who would then take that knowledge back to their own communities. We also ran certifications through the AI-thon. So we were really fortunate that Microsoft enabled us to offer their generative AI skills for career essentials certification through LinkedIn. And so we offered that for free to absolutely everyone across Mississippi through our AI-thon. And then we built this kind of pipeline that saw everyone from K through 12 to higher education and alternative education, as well as in the community participating. But we wanted to know how we could equip students to transition into the workforce with these new AI skills. And so that's where our AI agency came in. And so I am really, really proud of our students at Jackson State University who have been our AI apprentices over the period of the grant. And so they have gone out and done such significant work within the community, working with small businesses and not-for-profit leaders, and demonstrating how AI can be used in their businesses. And so that's been really, really remarkable. And I think that the holistic approach is important because we felt that it was really, really necessary to try to meet every single person across the state where they were at. And that was the only way that this was going to be sustainable and lift everyone up together. We absolutely saw higher uptake for things like our AI-thon in areas of the state where digital literacy is already at a relatively good level. And so we really then had to go out and do that work within communities to meet them where they were at elsewhere. And so that's what I would say for that question.
That's excellent. Thank you for kicking us off so nicely, Brittany. Next, Rob. Data Elevates and partner CDI Chile, leading a generative AI to employment program to unlock financial opportunities for Venezuelan migrant women in Chile. In conversations around the AI hype, there are worries that AI would take away jobs. Can you please tell us how generative AI skills drive employment opportunities?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And we definitely go into this with eyes wide open about kind of some of the concerns and worries that people have. And I think part of our role in doing this generative AI skills training is to show people how AI is working at like the base level and kind of under the hood. And the more we show people what it is and how it works, the more they're kind of, any concerns they have go to this enthusiasm in terms of saying, oh my gosh, this is an incredible tool and I can use it to make my job more effective. And we're seeing it both on the employee side and on the employer side. So on the employee side, a lot of our graduates and participants, they work in jobs like communications, marketing, events, sales. And some of the ways that they're able to use it is to create social media posts or create monthly reports or create event agendas or do meeting summaries or create work plans. So all of these things that they were able to do kind of like on their own, but now they're just able to do it much more quickly and much more efficiently. So it becomes this kind of like huge time saver. We had a job tech event last week, and one of our graduates was saying how she works in higher education and she recently changed roles. And she was talking with her new bosses. And one of the things that they were kind of most excited about is that she'd been taking this courses in generative AI and some of our other digital skills training programs to basically be able to use that in her new role. And so that's kind of like on the employee side. On the employer side, it's kind of similar, I think, to what Brittany was just saying. We're not really focused on these, entirely new roles in terms of like prompt engineering or things like that. But what we're seeing is a lot of the same jobs that have kind of like always existed in marketing and sales. And in addition to people wanting, employers wanting like good communication skills or good writing skills or good people skills, they also want skills or experience in generative AI or using ChatGPT. And because they realize it's making their like employees much more efficient and much more effective, and becoming this, a big time saver. And I think the last thing I'll kind of say on this is, yeah, there's kind of these two different visions that are being created around kind of like how AI is going to impact employability in the workforce. And for us, it's not really about that it's going to, everyone's going to become prompt engineer and it's going to solve all the problems, or that, it's going to replace your CEO and replace your CFO or anything like that. It's much more similar to what we saw with like the search revolution and like the internet revolution of like the 90s and 2000s, in the sense that it's just going to be intermixed into all of the jobs that we've always had or kind of like and continue to have. And for us as like a mission-driven organization, it's really important that that power that's coming with generative AI isn't just going to people in cities or people with graduate degrees, but it's also going to people that we work with, like marginalized populations and women and migrants and people working in rural areas. And so far, we've seen an incredible amount of enthusiasm from our participants for it. And now it just becomes a question of how much we can continue to grow it and scale it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. That is very inspiring and pacifying as well. Yorgos, now to you. In the Tipping Point and 100 Mentors project, you empower educators in remote areas of Greece with generative AI skills and tools. What is the benefit of leveraging AI? And why is AI categorically better than other technology solutions?
That's a great question. First of all, let me say hello to everybody who has joined from so many different places in Greece. I see a vast representation from islands, remote islands, villages, towns, and of course everybody else from all over the world. It's the first time that all of us meet. So usually we met with educators and students in the Tipping Point program only within the borders of our countries. And I think, hello everybody, I think this is an awesome opportunity for everyone. So I'm Yorgos, representing here the Tipping Point, the largest mentoring network for students and educators in Greece, and one of the largest in the world at the moment, covering more than 30% of the secondary education. And we were one of the lucky people here that got the opportunity to leverage Gen AI. So in terms of your question, AI is categorically better than other technology solutions. Yes, first of all, the profound answer is that it has no technical prerequisites for the users. It's the first technology that you can use only your natural language, even the Cretan dialect. I am speaking to you from the island of Crete here. We have a very special dialect, and Gen AI is getting better and better in recognizing this dialect as well. So as far as we make sure that we share use cases that are relevant to the everyday life and problems of the educators, and see how it solves those problems, and we have ways to measure impact. Even the most marginalized, the most resistant teachers and educators, and of course students, will adopt it. And this is what we made possible through our program. We trained 1,123 educators throughout Greece, and more than 900 graduated. And the point is that Gen AI, we made this point very clear that Gen AI can be a technology enabler also for those educators who were on the margins. For example, educators in the humanities or older educators, let aside the ones who are in the islands and the remote areas. Those older educators we had more than 40%, about 40% of the participants are educators that are older than 50 years old. So we have very practical examples of people who were they were technophobic, and many reported that on the largest press cover in Greece, that we were super resistant, and we are not anymore. So we have amazing signals about how Gen AI is categorically different, as your question points out. And the other thing that we are very enthusiastic about is that we are able to have localized and context-specific content. So we started with libraries of workflows, not prompts, and prompts, I would say, but libraries of workflows where educators could identify themselves, 500 initial workflows where they could start not from zero, but from 30–40% of their ideal deliverable. And we trained ourselves and the educators in a trial and error way of thinking. So Gen AI is not like the typical software as a service where you get a one-size-fits-all. You adjust the size all the time, and it's a matter of trial and error. And this is also very beneficial for Greece and other countries in the region where we are like a bit of risk averse, and we want very typical formalities in our education, because we made possible that everybody gets into the iteration mode. So this is amazing. We're planning centers of excellence for this academic year, where the schools and the educators, and of course the students, start finding the use cases that make sense to their own routines. This is very important, and it's a matter of a continuous effort for that. And last but not least, we are training along with the Athena lab, which is like the premier technology lab in the country, agents with, we are training our own small language models that are agents that are context specific to the local context, either per region or per school. And we use the high value tokens that we have created from the first year of this program. We're so lucky to have 1,000 educators who do who participate, but also have educators who create high value tokens so that we can train agents for certain workflows, like create my lesson plan or other workflows that the educators use every day. And we do that by training a Llama model and other models on Microsoft, and so that we have a very context-specific, localized AI chatbots that can work with a teacher. So we see a progress, we see an amazing demand for next year, and we are trying to cover replicate this model also in 2 more countries, neighboring countries. I'm glad to participate in that, and I'm also very happy to share more if anybody wants to know about how we continue this effort. Thank you so much again for all your help to microsoftdata.org and of course EY.
Thank you. That's great, and thank you, Brittany, Rob, and Yorgos, for just walking us through how generative AI is driving social impact and advancing socioeconomic mobility. I'd like to now, as we advance our conversation today, turn to the dimension of how, right? Generative AI has the potential to revolutionize how we tackle global challenges thanks to its unparalleled ability to scale, but only if it is applied with a strong emphasis on community-led solutions that are informed by local context. Trust is a key component of each of the awardee projects. And so I'm going to now turn to each of you and ask a few questions from this perspective. I start with you first, Daniel. GIEVA is training women entrepreneurs in northern Nigeria on the use of generative AI capabilities to create digital livelihoods. What were the key steps to building trust with these communities?
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity given to us to engage in this thing. Historically, in Nigeria, when new technology comes into the system, there are a lot of resistance from everywhere, especially digital connected technologies. When they when the artificial intelligence technology was mentioned in Nigeria, it became a sort of things, and the normal people that were in control of technology seized upon it and frightened other people that were not normally historically connected to the use of this technology. And so in Nigeria, what we did when the opportunity came to us was that we recognized that generative artificial intelligence is a new technology with a capability that largely depends on data, context, and cultural understanding. So GIEVA took the following key steps to build trust and confidence in the communities. To do that, a team of advocacy research staff, mostly women entrepreneurs, was formed and trained to have several open and honest discussions, mostly with the target group in the local languages, in order to remove language barriers, allaying the fear of deceptive promises made to them in the past by other research groups and organizations. Then the next step we took to make sure that we created trust within the community, we formed a team. The team that was formed was trained to answer questions honestly in order to allay the fear associated with the use of digital technologies to promote businesses in this part of the country. The third step we took was during these particular advocacy visits, different cultural nuances as they relate to privacy, biases, digital security, and context were discussed honestly. Questions which were raised were honestly answered as much as possible to allay the fears, to allay the existing phobia in the use of digital technologies to promote businesses among the marginalized population. This public awareness exercise played a huge role in building trust and developed shared partnership between the research team and the marginalized businesswomen in the two communities. Steps were taken to ensure that concerns raised were considered and included in the designs of survey questions for the gathering of the primary data. With this, to further strengthen the confidence and trust in the community, a regular line of communication was established between the GIEVA consortium team and the community leaders in order to be able to continue our conversation on this. And this actually led to what happened in the future, as we started the program, by enabling the community leaders to invite us to come and give training in their community. So with this particular one, actually, we realized that the fear that people have in the generative artificial intelligence was not was being used artificially by the people that were in control to really bar these marginalized people from engaging in digital economy. So the process actually opened the door for us to engage into the community and found out that the community actually were looking forward to people who come to show them the way how to use this particular technology to enable them not to be deceived by the people that are in control of the technology in the past. And we're glad to find out that it really worked when the prototype was finally designed. And when that question is raised concerning the infrastructure, we'll tell you more about what the impact that it has gained in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing about context and cultural understanding. We'll go now from Nigeria, Africa to India, Asia, and Tanvi, you are next. The Mahila Foundation is training their network of women in generative AI to power a text-based AI platform designed to dispel misconceptions around women's health. What is the impact of training and employing women to create and power this AI platform?
Yeah. Thanks, Yui. Thanks for that question. And thanks everyone for joining in. Great to see so many people joining in from different countries. So firstly, to answer your question, Yui, just from the employment side, it empowers women by providing them with like valuable skills in AI, in data generation, in validation, and in prompt engineering, enabling them to become active participant in the cutting edge technology that is predominantly dominated by men. So this not only boosts their confidence or like employability, but also allows them to work flexibly, given women in India are constrained by social norms and household responsibilities, given they also come from more marginalized communities where social norms are very strong. And we provide this flexible work from their homes or like hyper local offices that we have built in these communities again, and they go through extensive training sessions just so that they get well versed with the new age technology that is and we provide sessions in such a way that they understand how it's used in their day-to-day lives, how AI plays a role in their day-to-day lives. And secondly, the AI platform that we are building is addressing like critical gaps in healthcare, and we work specifically on sexual and reproductive health, which is the most stigmatized and taboo topic in India here. Where misconceptions are also more prevalent in these communities regarding this topic. So by directly involving this women in like building this AI tool, the content is more likely to be like empathetic, like socially very relevant, contextually also very relevant, right? And also the main thing of building a trust, as you mentioned, in these local communities of using this such a kind of tool. So women in these communities also hesitate to speak about these topics to their doctors or families, given the stigma associated with this. So we are offering such a confidential and reliable AI tool. We are creating safe space for women to not only like access information and seek healthcare services without the fear of judgment, but also for them to upskill in this new age technology. So when we saw women, actually, when we built a prototype and saw women accessing this information through the chatbot, we saw how more and more women became a part of this conversation. So where these women never even spoke to their doctors or their family members, given because the AI chatbot that we had built was answering questions on sexual and reproductive health in their languages, they started speaking to more and more family members and neighborhood inputs to collect more data, so that we are able to train the AI in their local nuances and native language. So in both contexts, it's really has increased the user engagement, given the conversational flow as well that the generative AI functions in. And then we received immense support from Microsoft, and we use OpenAI tools, given that credits was really very helpful for us to build this tool. We aim to include as many diverse women in this platform, not in terms of just creating an AI tool, but also an AI tool that is keeping women at the forefront and helping them access healthcare services to improve both their lives, providing employment as well as like a healthy life.
That is fantastic, Tanvi. Thank you. Keeping women at the forefront and giving them agency is powerful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Brittany, I'll come back to you now and go from Asia back to North America. There's a lot of reluctance and fear around AI. 95% of Mississippi AI collaborative participants are from backgrounds that are typically at risk of exclusion from the digital economy. How do you work with local educators and small business leaders to build confidence and show the opportunities and benefits of implementing AI?
Yeah, thank you. It's such a great question. And I think, Daniel said something that I will sort of reiterate, is that necessity of being honest about the information. And so when we go to communities, making sure that we are a trusted source of truth about generative AI is really, really important for building trust. And so I'd like to just sort of re-emphasize that. There is a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of equation of generative AI with things like magic, for example. And so really kind of breaking down the fundamentals, like I said, meeting people where they're at, perhaps even finding analogies that are culturally relevant to them when we're explaining how generative AI works is important. And also being honest about some of the ethical questions that arise. So for example, some of the work that we do through the AI agency is students who are apprentices are trained not only in the AI tools that we're using, but also in some of the ethics around AI and questions that might arise so that they can be advocates about it. So we talk about things like data sovereignty. What does that mean for marginalized communities who have historically had their data taken and perhaps used against them in ways that are extractive? We think that that foundation is really, really important as we're heading towards a state where we really want every person to not only be a consumer, but a creator of AI. And so it's really significant to hear Tanvi talk about the role that these women are taking, in building this app. We really want people to have that agency, to have a chance to be involved in that development. I also think it's really significant that we're working with trusted partners. And so Jackson State University is an HBCU, or a historically Black college that has a massive reputation for being involved in its surrounding community. Likewise, the coding academies, the Mississippi coding academies, are located in areas like Clarksdale in the Delta. They offer certifications in coding for free. The Computer Science Teacher Association and the Bean Path, likewise, are statewide organizations. The Bean Path is run by Dr. Nashley Cephas. And so we kind of have this amazing person who is this really trusted voice of AI in our African-American communities in Mississippi. And so that's really, really significant too. The other thing that I would say in terms of this kind of idea of leading with localism, in addition to the importance of context and culture and talking honestly about things like algorithmic bias with communities, is we believe that communities are leaders in what they need. And so when we were looking at training our educators, for example, it was really important to give educators from around the state tools that they could take back to their own communities. And so each of the educators that we trained through our accelerator then developed their own workshops in generative AI that were specific to the needs of their community. So for example, we have educators who are working with students who are perhaps visually impaired. And so they would bring back specific workshops into their districts for that particular community. And it's really the same with our model of the AI agency. And so it's a train the trainer or a teach the teacher model. We believe that that's probably one of the best ways to build trust within these communities.
Thank you so much. Such great insights. Leading with localism requires being honest about the information, being trusted source of truth. That's powerful. Rob, I'll turn to you now. Many Avanzando con la AI program trainers are Venezuelan migrants. Now, beyond adding additional layers of local context and real-world experience to the training, what is the impact of trust between trainers and trainees?
Yeah, and for this program, the trainers, they were Venezuelan migrants, and they'd also been students in past courses for our digital skills program. So they could relate to the participants and the graduates on like multiple levels, both as being, both as being an immigrant, both as being Spanish speaking, and then also as well being a student with like a full-time job with, responsibilities. They still have to go like have time to go to the supermarket and do all these things that come along with adult learning. And so I think that's really important to have that kind of connection between the trainer and the trainees. I think Brittany was talking about like the training of trainers model. That's something that we've kind of been using with a lot of success since like, since at least 2020. And part of it is basically around this focus in terms of like localization and community building, connection building between the trainers and the trainees. For us at Data Elevates, we developed something called the 5 C's model for digital skills building, which is around community, context, competitions, certifications, and champions. With community, it's basically the idea that people learn better when they learn together. There's a lot of incredible things about Udemy and Coursera, but the graduation rates that you have with those programs aren't as high as something the programs that we're doing, because part of it is because we're able to have this kind of like more personal interaction with the students. The context to, the point that you were just talking about, it's like very important that as we're talking about building up this program and making it kind of locally driven, to understand that context and have the trainers and the people developing the curriculums also be this very same or similar to the people that are actually learning the program. Competitions in the sense that, basically everything that we do has to be kind of fun, or it has to have this like gamification element to it, in the sense that, our students, they have so much else going on in their lives. The more that we can make this kind of like a fun and interactive activity for them, better. And certifications in the sense like our students are putting in so much time and effort into their work that they need to have like a takeaway from this. And we've seen a lot of our students, they post their certifications not only on their LinkedIn pages, but they also go out and take other courses and then post those as well to create kind of like a digital skills identity. And the last one, just in terms of champions, in terms of basically being able to build this up in terms of driving it to the next level. So it's kind of like we can do our piece, but if we're talking about really kind of like scaling out the work that we're doing, we need champions who are going to basically go on and become the next trainers and the next teachers. And then just like the last thing I'll say on this, part of this going back to the idea of like community, as much as we focus on like the digital skills and kind of, it's what for us, a big part about like finding jobs, I think we all know is kind of like the who as well. It's your network. For better or for worse, like we wish it was all just about like what but it's really about your network. And so the more that we can kind of like build up a network for our participants and graduates, the more we're going to see the success of the program. And so far, we've seen just kind of like an incredible amount of enthusiasm from our participants and from the employer side as well. And so the question just becomes like how much we can kind of continue to scale and grow this. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. We have maybe about 4 to 5 minutes for the panel conversation before we turn it over to our audience Q&A. But I don't want us to leave without acknowledging the elephant in the room when it comes to AI in marginalized and vulnerable communities and contexts, which is the digital divide. And so I just want to, open up rapid fire responses from Yorgos, Tanvi, Daniel. Please try to keep it to 1 minute. And the background is that operating in low and middle income countries and contexts requires intentional design and deployment of AI training and solutions to ensure that they are accessible to the users, often known as those in the last mile. So, Yorgos, in training educators in remote areas, what considerations did you make to ensure accessibility in your generative AI training?
That's a great issue. Yeah, when we set up the Gen AI training, our primary focus was on ensuring accessibility for educators in remote and underserved areas. So understanding that, for example, internet connectivity can often be unreliable, we designed the training to be largely asynchronous. This approach allowed educators to engage with Gen AI tools at their own pace, accessing the content whenever they had a stable connection. And we made all training videos publicly available on YouTube. And right now, I think we are crossing 13,000 views. So way beyond the number of the participants in the closed community group. So the demand is overwhelming, but we have to ensure accessibility. And another thing that is very important, again, is that we have an open access library. This is a very important heritage, and this goes also to a question that I see on the webinar chat. So that to cover that as well, we inherited an open access library of workflows that are the most recurring, and it's not only our instructional design that pointed those workflows, but it's the educators themselves who, by using also the new app that we created out of this program, we start seeing what are the recurring workflows that are also creating high-value tokens, so that we also built the new agents that are addressing also accessibility issues. So the main idea is also for the new software is that if somebody cannot access, we should put this human in the loop. And actually what we do is that whenever Gen AI starts getting very generic or a liar, we all know that Gen AI, no matter what the model is a bullshitter. Our AI brings the right human in the loop. So it identifies knowledge gaps, who is the right human who carries the knowledge that we are missing, and bring them within the workflow, even if those mentors or collaborators are not tech savvy. So we made it accessible, and we make sure that we also invite those who are resistant maybe or not tech savvy as contributors without having them owning the workflows. There are a lot of other things for what we do about accessibility, but I think we have to keep it short. So thank you so much again for the opportunity, and I'll pass it to the next ones. Thank you, Yui.
Thank you, Yorgos. Yes, let's try to keep it to 1 minute so that we can get to audience Q&A. Tanvi, you're next. The Myna Mahila Foundation trained its AI model with data in multiple local languages and dialects, innovating in large language models and breaking significant barriers for non-English speaking communities. What is the impact of this innovation with users and within the community?
Right. Given India is so diverse with so many families of language, religious context, cultural background, right? And traditionally, if we see, women have never been online, like, marginalized communities specifically. And so the internet in general doesn't know how they behave, what their context looks like, what their colloquial languages look like. So when we tried to build this chatbot, we were very mindful about the diverse communities that we include, the diverse women that we include. So when we say diversity, it's not just like, in terms of a language, but also their religious context, their educational background, their family settings. So we're able to have a very holistic understanding. And the 90% of our users are all non-English speaking users. Although they use Google, vast users of Google and YouTube. So when they ask a question to Google or YouTube, then the Google or YouTube would never ever understand their questions, right? And the second second part is like, we wanted to strengthen our cultural relevance because given the topic that we were working, whereas I informed, it's so stigmatized, culturally. So by incorporating like local languages, what happens is that it opens a platform to have more conversations, whether it's with their families or with their husbands or with the doctors in itself, that helps them like, that resonates with these communities' values, that understands and break down these taboos, and, provides solutions in a way that they understand, right? Also within the community, given this innovation, it fosters digital literacy, because we are also employing women on the new age technology. So it's also accessibility of like into participating into this digital world. And we see that technology is advancing every single day, but a large part of population gets left behind if we don't involve them in building this solution. So mindfully, like we try to incorporate like as many languages, as many linguistic languages as possible, to get women into a part of this digital world that we are advancing into.
Thank you, Tanvi.
Thank you.
Yeah. Daniel, if we keep it to 1 minute, and I know this is so unfair because this is a large topic around the digital divide, but here is, how did GIEVA design its generative AI skilling to address infrastructural gaps in Nigeria and adapt to local conditions such as limited access to electricity and internet connectivity? Daniel, that's your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. At the beginning, we're very convinced that having authentic answers to survey questions will enhance our technical team, give them ability to be able to develop an appropriate training tools and programs in the use of generative AI to support micro, small, and medium-scale women businesses in northern Nigeria. After a comprehensive study by the research team in understanding the impact of AI tools and processes and boosting sales and profits to businesses led by women in low to medium income communities in Nigeria, we embarked on: one, we created an AI solution called Zoom AI app, tailored for businesses operated by women in low to medium income areas. We designed an AI prototype for use in both online and offline marketplace, as well as an official social media platforms. Since large language model is a type of artificial intelligence AI program that recognizes and generates text, voices, images, and other related data, the prototype that can use Hausa language as a resource language became critical in building the model. So Hausa language is one of the many low resource languages in Nigeria, and in some parts of Africa. To avoid and minimize cultural nuances, the technical team went into the field to intentionally collect a contextualized data set of audio, text, images, voices, to avoid and minimize unintended biases and AI hallucinations. A prototype called Zoom AI model was designed after collecting over 10,000 original audio files of Hausa language with local accents and images. We also used studio background and artificial noise to ensure that the model could understand recording in marketplaces where there were noises. After the successful building of the prototype, an AI-tailored solution was established and training manual was designed and produced to train the women in the use of AI learning capabilities among the targeted group. Issues related to data consumption, battery life, and hardware malfunctions were put into consideration in building the AI prototype with the women in mind that have poor schooling, modest fluency in English language, and have been historically excluded from the digital economy ecosystem to create digital assets. The key features of the prototype that we discovered: multi-language capability. A unique feature of Jume AI is its ability to converse in Hausa language, a widely spoken language in northern Nigeria. This feature allows ease of use by all women, regardless of their educational background. 2, conversational chatbot. Jume AI includes a chatbot that interacts with users in human-like manner in English and Hausa languages, providing instant responses to users and helping businesses owners with customer inquiries, as well as generating instant content to their social media pages, thereby increasing their online presence.
Daniel,
3, image generation.
Daniel, I am so
Yeah.
sorry to do this to you, and you're a friend of mine, by the way, so I don't feel too, but we are running out of time, and I know you will forgive me, but this is so inspiring, the work that you all have discussed, and I know time is just not enough for us to dive into the great work that you have started, but it's a profound legacy, as we've heard today. So what I like to do, and please bear with me, at least one audience question. There are a few questions that we have, and just at least to satisfy our audience that we are paying attention. And this is from Simba from Zimbabwe. Just one question, and then we can wrap up. The question says that with efforts to effectively implement Gen AI, what kind of drawbacks have the awardees faced, and how have they reassured the public? Just one or two responses, and then we can wrap up. Should I repeat that? Yeah. With efforts to effectively implement Gen AI, what kind of drawbacks have the awardees faced, and how have they reassured the public? Who wants to take it? I don't want to volunteer anyone. From the panel.
I can speak really briefly about what we faced in education, which was really difficult. We set out initially to develop an AI curriculum that would be implemented across schools in Mississippi. We very quickly found that, certain government officials were really, really hesitant about us doing that. And so that's why we switched to the educating the educator model. And so we sort of reevaluated that and took a more grassroots approach, believing that if we can upskill educators, that will eventually make its way into the classroom. So that was a big challenge. I noticed the other question you have is about infrastructure. That's something we still have to work on combating. I think it's over 10,000 households in Jackson, which is the capital city of Mississippi, don't have access to the internet. So let alone in places like the Delta, right? So access to broadband is still something that is an ongoing problem, but it's why having these kind of community centers, like Tanvi was mentioning, they set up for people to come in and use these applications is really important. And I'll let someone else add on to that.
Actually, I'm so grateful. I just, we will take all the questions and then try to work with each of you and provide those responses on our website. But I just want to take time right now to thank each of you, the awardees, for an outstanding job that you've done, again, for building a legacy that would last as we cater to the marginalized and vulnerable communities. I want to thank Microsoft Philanthropies, and I want to thank Greg for joining today. I want to thank Anne and EY for the support. I also want to call out my colleague, Emma, and the comms team for a fantastic work pulling all of this together. Now, there's a lot that we'll cover, but let me give you a teaser that next week, September 11, we'll be launching the Generative AI Skills Challenge Impact Report that will go into a lot of details about all of the work that the awardees have done. And so please be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on LinkedIn for this exciting report as we launch it out next week. I want to thank all of you for spending time with us. Have a good evening, good day, the rest of you who are in this hemisphere. Thank you, everyone, and bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.